Why didn't predators invade ancient human camps at night? The fire has collapsed into red embers. Beyond its light, something heavy moves through the grass. The camp contains sleeping adults, children, fresh meat, and no walls. To a hungry predator, it should look like an open feast. Yet crossing those final few meters could be the most dangerous decision of its life. What made a group of sleeping humans more frightening than they appeared? The obvious answer is fire. For much of human history, a flame was the closest thing our ancestors had to an electric fence. It illuminated eyes in the darkness. It produced smoke, sparks, heat, and movements that no ordinary animal made. A burning branch could turn one frightened human into something with a long, glowing weapon. But fire was never a magical force field. Flames shrink, rain falls, wind changes direction, fuel runs out. Some predators will approach fires, especially if they have learned that people leave food nearby. A weak bed of embers is not a wall, and an animal does not have to understand combustion to walk around it. So fire matters, but it cannot be the complete answer. If flames alone protected early camps, the safest human would have been the one closest to the fire. In reality, the most important protection may have been scattered around it, breathing quietly, turning in the night, and never becoming unconscious at exactly the same time. A prehistoric camp probably did not fall asleep like a modern house after the lights go out. One person was cold, another was feeding an infant. Someone older woke before the others. A hunter shifted because an injury hurt. A child whispered. Someone added wood to the fire. None of these people had to be appointed as a formal guard. Their different bodies and schedules could create something that behaved like a watch system. Research among Hadza hunter-gatherers in Tanzania offers a useful modern comparison. When researchers monitored sleep across a group, differences in age and sleep timing meant that someone was awake during nearly the entire night. This has been described as sentinel-like behavior. It does not prove that every Paleolithic camp worked in the same way. Modern hunter-gatherers are living communities, not fossils from the Stone Age, but the study demonstrates a simple possibility: a group can maintain nighttime awareness without assigning one exhausted person to stare into the darkness until sunrise. The distinction is important. A formal guard must fight fatigue and may eventually miss a quiet approach. Sentinel-like coverage emerges from variation. Early sleepers wake before late sleepers have finished resting. Older people may keep different hours from younger adults. Infants interrupt the sleep of caregivers. These interruptions feel inconvenient to an individual, yet across a group, they create overlapping windows of awareness. Natural selection would not need to produce a special night watch instinct. Ordinary differences among people could deliver part of the same defensive benefit. The protection would be imperfect, but predators also make decisions using imperfect information. That changes the predator's problem. From outside the camp, 10 motionless bodies may look asleep, but they are not 10 identical sleepers. One is drifting into deep sleep. Another is waking. A third is listening without consciously deciding to listen. The predator does not know which one will notice a snapped branch. And discovery matters because a human alarm can travel faster than teeth. A single shout can wake the entire camp. One startled person becomes several standing figures. Several figures become stones, spears, burning sticks, and noise coming from more than one direction. A predator approaching a solitary human can concentrate on one target. A predator entering a camp may have to monitor every target at once. But that still does not explain why a predator might hesitate before anyone shouts. To understand that, we have to look again at the fire not as a wall, but as part of an alarm system. Humans were using fire deep in prehistory. Burned plant material and bone discovered in Wonderwerk Cave in South Africa provide evidence of fire inside the cave roughly 1 million years ago. Although the timing and consistency of controlled fire use across human populations remain debated. A hearth tells archaeologists that burning occurred. It does not preserve a record saying, "We place this here to frighten hyenas," nor should one date be turned into a universal starting line. The ability to preserve fire, transport embers, select fuel, and reliably ignite a new flame may have developed unevenly. A group that used fire occasionally did not necessarily control it every night. Wet seasons, treeless landscapes, migration, or simple bad luck could remove that advantage. This variation matters because nighttime defense was not one invention switched on across the species. It was a collection of practices that became more dependable in some places and periods than in others. Still, fire changes the geometry of darkness. Without it, a predator can use the night as cover until the final leap. With it, an approaching body may cross a moving boundary of light. Eyes reflect, grass bends, a shadow travels across the ground. The same flame that reveals the humans can reveal what is approaching them. Fire also gives a waking person options. Dry fuel can brighten the camp quickly. A branch can be lifted, sparks can be thrown, smoke and human scent announce that this is not a sleeping carcass. It is an occupied place capable of changing in seconds. That may have been fire's more important defensive value. It did not guarantee safety. It gave humans information and time, and humans are unusually dangerous once they have both. Consider what happens after the first alarm. One person sits up, another reaches for a spear, someone pulls a child toward the center, a third throws wood onto the embers. The predator that approached a quiet circle now faces upright silhouettes, direct attention, and objects moving through the air. Humans do not need claws to injure something from a distance. Stones are common, replaceable, and surprisingly effective when several people throw them at once. Wooden spears extend reach. A burning branch adds heat and confusion. Even a weapon that cannot kill a large carnivore can damage an eye, break a tooth, or create a wound. For a predator, injury is not a minor inconvenience. A damaged leg or eye can make the next hunt fail. A broken tooth can turn future meals into a struggle. The reward inside the camp must therefore be weighed against consequences that continue long after the encounter. This is why attacking one sleeper is not the same as attacking one human. Inside a camp, individuals become a response network. Touch one part, and the rest activates. The location and shape of a camp could add another layer. Although direct evidence is limited, the Stone Age covers an enormous span of time and many environments. There was no universal prehistoric campsite design. Some groups used caves or rock shelters. Others occupied open ground, shorelines, woodland edges, or temporary hunting sites. Every choice involved a trade-off. A cave blocks wind and limits the directions from which something can approach. It can also contain blind corners or already belong to a carnivore. Open ground provides visibility but less shelter. Water attracts humans, prey, and predators alike. Dense vegetation offers fuel and concealment, including concealment for whatever is stalking the camp. People who repeatedly survived in a landscape could learn which places offered warning, escape routes, fuel, and defensible space. They did not need a scientific theory of camp security. They needed memory. A site where lions passed frequently would be avoided. A place with poor visibility might be abandoned after one frightening night. Knowledge could move through the group as warnings, habits, and stories. Camp organization may also have concentrated danger away from vulnerable sleepers. It is tempting to picture children in the center, capable adults around them, tools within reach, and fires near likely approaches. Some historical and ethnographic camps use protective arrangements like these, but archaeology rarely preserves a complete sleeping plan, so we should treat any single reconstruction as plausible rather than universal. Archaeologists more often recover fragments of behavior hearth locations, clusters of stone tools, butchered bones, post holes, repeatedly used surfaces, and discarded material. Even when these traces survive, they do not label the place where each person slept, wind, water, animals, later visitors. And thousands of years of sediment can rearrange a site. A neat circle in an illustration is therefore a storytelling model, not a photograph of normal Stone Age life. The safest argument is that humans could organize space deliberately and that repeated experience would favor arrangements, offering earlier warning and faster collective response. What matters is the larger principle: humans can reshape a small patch of landscape. They clear space, move fuel, position bodies, keep tools nearby, and decide where danger must pass. A predator is no longer approaching random animals. It is entering an environment those animals have modified for themselves. Yet even a well-positioned camp can be surprised. Fire can fail, guards can sleep, predators did attack humans. Fossil bones bearing carnivore damage and evidence from ancient predator dens make that uncomfortable point clear. Our ancestors were hunters, but they were also potential prey. So the title contains a deliberate paradox, not an absolute rule. The question is not why attacks never happened. It is why a camp full of vulnerable bodies could often persuade a hungry predator to search elsewhere. The answer may depend as much on the predator's mind as on the camp's defenses. Predators are not machines programmed to attack whenever calories appear. They make decisions under uncertainty. They approach, pause, listen, test the wind, and abandon opportunities. A large carnivore may be physically stronger than any person in the camp, but it cannot know exactly what 10 humans will do after the first scream. Different predators would read the situation differently. A leopard that relies on surprise faces a different problem from a pack of hyenas capable of testing a camp's edge. A starving animal may accept risks that a healthy one avoids. An inexperienced juvenile may approach what an older animal recognizes as dangerous. Wind can hide human scent or carry it far beyond the firelight. Hunger, competition, previous encounters, available prey, and even the direction of escape can alter the decision. There was never one universal predator response, only repeated calculations made under changing conditions. That uncertainty is expensive. A herd animal usually runs away. Humans may run, but they may also surround, chase, throw, burn, trap, or return the next day with more people. Our behavior is difficult to predict because it is coordinated and culturally learned. Modern wildlife experiments demonstrate how powerful human-associated risk can become. In South African savanna research, recordings of ordinary human speech caused strong avoidance responses across many mammal species. The animals were not responding to shouting hunters. They reacted to calm voices. In that landscape, the sound of humans carried danger. This does not mean prehistoric lions were born fearing conversation, or that modern wildlife reactions can simply be projected backward, hundreds of thousands of years. Present-day animals live with long histories of hunting, habitat pressure, and human activity. But the research reveals a mechanism that does not require magic animals can learn that signs of humans predict risk. That learning could occur through direct encounters. A predator approaches a camp and is struck by stones. It survives, but the next approach begins with a memory. Younger animals may follow experienced adults. Bolder individuals may take risks and sometimes pay for them. More cautious animals may survive and repeat their caution. Humans were learning too. One generation discovered how to maintain embers. Another learned where to sleep. Children watched adults respond to noises. Stories around the fire could preserve information about dangerous places and animals long after the original encounter. Ethnographic research among Jew/Hwanzi communities has shown that firelight conversations often shift toward stories, social relationships, and people beyond the immediate camp. We cannot treat those conversations as recordings of prehistory, but they show how nighttime fire can become more than heat. It can be a setting where knowledge and group identity are strengthened. Now the central reversal comes into view. The predator outside the light is not looking at sleeping meat. It is looking at a system. The system has sensors, half-awake ears, different sleep schedules, eyes reflecting firelight. It has an alarm, a voice capable of waking everyone. It has ranged defensive stones, spears, branches, and coordinated movement. It has memory knowledge of the landscape and past encounters, and it can change faster than the predator can confidently predict. The camp is not merely where humans become vulnerable, it is where individual vulnerability is converted into collective strength. This may explain why fire alone is such an unsatisfying answer. A flame without awake humans is only burning wood. A spear without cooperation is one object. A good campsite without shared knowledge is an accident. Protection emerges when all these pieces operate together. The physically powerful predator faces a strange calculation. It might succeed. Ancient humans were certainly killed, but success offers one meal, while failure can damage the body on which every future meal depends. Nearby, there may be prey that runs predictably and cannot throw anything back. Walking away is not cowardice, it is survival. Some traces of this old nighttime problem may still be visible in us, although evolutionary stories require caution. Darkness reduces information, so ordinary sounds become harder to identify. An unseen noise can produce a stronger response than the same noise in daylight. Light restores visual control. Familiar voices signal nearby allies. Sleeping beside trusted people feels different from sleeping alone in an exposed place. Not every modern fear needs a Stone Age explanation. Culture, personal experience, and present environments matter, but the basic logic remains uncertain danger feels smaller when information and allies are available. That is what an ancient camp created. Fire expanded information, wakeful group members reduced surprise, voices and weapons increased the cost of approaching, shared experience improved the next night's decisions. The fire at the center of our opening camp has almost gone out. The humans remain unaware of the animal beyond the grass. But the predator sees an ember brighten. One sleeper rolls over, another coughs. A hand rests near a spear. It could attack. Sometimes predators did. But the camp is not defenseless, and the sleepers are not truly alone. Fire, vigilance, cooperation, landscape knowledge, weapons, and learned fear overlap around them. The strongest animal at the edge of the light survives the night by making a careful choice. It steps backward. And that leaves one final question: what happened on the nights when the fire went completely dark?